Okay. My dear students, today we are going to know about midbrain. Midbrain is first part of brainstem. So midbrain, pons, medulla oblongata, in that order, that comprises the brainstem. So already we know about medulla, already we know about pons. Now we are knowing today about the midbrain. After end of this session, you must be able to know what is midbrain, what is its external features, what is its internal features. So the internal structure of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus, that means transverse section of midbrain we have to study at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus. So the two are different. So we have to study the midbrain transverse section at these two levels to know detail about the internal structures of the midbrain. They vary at superior colliculus level, they vary at inferior colliculus level. So we have to know about the structure of midbrain by studying its transverse section at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus. Now, the midbrain contains two nerves. There are 12 cranial nerves. First and second olfactory and optic are attached to the forebrain. Oculomotor and trochlear are attached to the midbrain. Pons, 4 nerves. Last 4 nerves to the medulla. So 12 cranial nerves. The midbrain contains, attached to the midbrain are 2 nerves, oculomotor and trochlear. So trochlear nerve, that is the only cranial nerve. Out of 12 cranial nerves, trochlear nerve is the only cranial nerve that emerges from the dorsal aspect. So remaining are from ventral aspect. So the midbrain contains 2 nerves, oculomotor from ventral aspect, trochlear nerve from dorsal aspect. So the trochlear nerve is a delicate nerve when compared with all other nerves. So it is the delicate nerve when compared with all other nerves of the cranial nerves. So the midbrain superiorly it is continuous with the diencephalon, and again above the diencephalon level cerebral cortex is there. Inferiorly with the pons and below the pons medulla is there, and below the spinal cord is there. So fibers from the midbrain goes to the diencephalon, thalamus, etc., and also to the cerebral cortex. So fibers from the midbrain goes to the cerebellum. Fibers from the midbrain goes to the pons, below part of the midbrain, and then goes to the medulla, then goes to the spinal cord. So they are going fibers from the midbrain as a center towards the other parts. So they are called away from the center, fibers are going. So one is efferent and another is towards the center, that is called afferent. So fibers coming from the midbrain, they are afferent fibers. Fibers going away from the midbrain, they are afferent fibers. So two types of fibers are there. Now the midbrain is also composed of gray matter and white matter, because the central nervous system in general contains 2 substances, gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is made up of neurons. White matter is made up of fibers. They are myelinated fibers. So white matter is composed of fibers. They are dendrites or axons of the neurons. Gray matter is nothing but, most of the gray matter contains neurons. Collection of neurons in the central nervous system is called nucleus. So nuclei is also present in the midbrain. A collection of neurons is also present in the midbrain. And white matter, that is composed of fibers. So if you go to the disposition of white matter and gray matter is in the center of the spinal cord as H-shaped one, and white matter is outside. So the medulla is also similar to like that, but a slight difference is there. Whereas in pons, it is disturbed. So various nuclei present in the white matter. So it is more. So if you comes to the midbrain, so There is also gray matter in the center, and white matter is also present around it. But in the white matter, nuclei are present. So as usual pattern is also present here. But whereas in cerebral cortex, outer part is completely gray matter and inner part is completely medulla. So in the spinal cord, white matter outside and central part is gray matter. So the change from central peripheral gray matter present in the cerebral cortex to the central white matter present in the cerebral cortex. So central gray matter present in the spinal cord to the peripheral white matter present. So a gradual transition. So by change of gray matter and white matter, so is reversed from top to bottom or from below upwards. So if you study the pattern, complete anatomical pattern of spinal cord, medulla, pons, midbrain, then diencephalon, then cerebral cortex top center, you will get a clear-cut idea how the orientation of gray matter and white matter takes place in the central nervous system. So this is a clear picture. Once again, I will tell you the anatomy, especially the central nervous system, is a continuous topic, is a continuous subject. So if you want to know very well, understand, so understanding regarding the midbrain, you have to study the pons. If you want to know more things in the pons, very well understood, so you have to study the medulla. So before that, you have to study the spinal cord. So it is not a fraction, it is not a region. You have to study region by region, but you should not leave the continuity of studying the previous chapter, especially in the central nervous system, because it is not a separated one. So you have to, whenever you are coming to hear the lecture of this class, you must also study the outlines of the previous chapters only. This is the most important thing. Now the gray matter, I want to tell you. Now this is the midbrain, this is the pons, this is the medulla. You see the length of the midbrain, you see the length of the pons, it is more, you see the length of the medulla. So the midbrain is 2.5 centimeters in length. So when compared with midbrain, pons and medulla, and midbrain is the shortest one. When you compare the diameter of the pons, when you compare the diameter of the medulla, if you compare the diameter of the midbrain, it is 2.5 centimeter. So length is 2.5 centimeter. And among the brainstem, midbrain is the shortest part. This entire part is diencephalon. This is superior. This is diencephalon part. This is diencephalon part. This is the cerebral cortex, frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe. So to expose this one, the temporal lobe is cut. So this is the cerebellum. This is the cerebellum present behind the pons. So midbrain is connected to the cerebellum is connected by to the midbrain by superior cerebellar peduncle, connected to the pons by middle cerebellar peduncle, connected to the medulla by inferior cerebellar peduncle. So there are fibers going from the midbrain to the cerebellum. There are fibers coming from the cerebellum to the midbrain also. So to and fro fibers are also present from the midbrain to various parts. So you have to study as midbrain as a center. It is the shortest part of the brainstem. It is 2.5 centimeter long and 2.5 centimeters wide. So this is the length, this is the width, only equal. Its cavity is cerebral aqueduct. You have to concentrate how I am showing the cursor. This is the cerebral aqueduct. Cerebral aqueduct. This is the cerebral aqueduct. So this is the floor of the fourth ventricle. So a triangular shaped one. This is the floor of the fourth ventricle. It is continuous, so cerebral aqueduct is continuous like this with the medulla oblongata, the medulla, with the central canal present in the medulla, and also along the spinal cord. So this is the midbrain. So the cerebral aqueduct present in this part is called as Sylvian duct. It is called as Sylvian duct. So the cerebral aqueduct present in the medulla is called as Sylvian duct. It passes through the tentorial line. So it passes through the tentorial line. You compare, this is the midbrain top part, pons is the second part, medulla is the third part. So cerebellum is in the posterior part. So these structures goes through the tentorium. Now you see how this is. Thalamus, hypothalamus. This is called diencephalon. So this is the corpus callosum connecting the two cerebral hemispheres, right and left one. Now this is the pituitary gland, how it is attached. Now the midbrain, pons and medulla, brainstem. This is the cerebellum. Now the ventral surface. So this is the dorsal surface. Cerebellum present in the behind the midbrain. So it is dorsal surface. This is the ventral surface. Now we are studying the ventral surface and we are studying the dorsal surface of the midbrain. This is the dorsal surface of the midbrain. This is the ventral surface of the midbrain. Now it presents two crura cerebri. They form posterolateral boundaries of interpeduncular fossa. Oculomotor nerve emerges from groove on the median side of the crus cerebri. So here you have to recollect your previous chapter brainstem. So several times I showed you the diagram of brainstem, including the fourth ventricle, anterior aspect and posterior aspect. You have to recollect in your memory the diagram, how the oculomotor nerve emerges from the groove on the medial side of the crus cerebri. Trochlear nerve emerges on the dorsal aspect of the midbrain. It presents to ventral surface presents two crura cerebri. I will show you. So this is the cut section of the midbrain. So this is the crus cerebri. This is the substantia nigra. This is the tegmentum. He has drawn a dotted line. So he has drawn a dotted line. This is the central gray matter. This is the central gray matter. This is the central canal where I have put a cursor. That is the central canal of the. This is the central canal of the midbrain, Sylvian duct. So if you draw a dotted line like this, this divides this into ventral part. This divides it into a dorsal part. So the dorsal part of the midbrain is called tectum. The ventral part is again divided into three parts. Most posterior part is tegmentum. Next, this crumbled shaped appearance and black in color, that is substantia nigra, and the anterior part is called crus cerebri. So in between the two crus cerebri, this is called interpeduncular fossa. So this is the dorsal part. So this is the ventral part. So interpeduncular fossa is present in between the two crus cerebri. In between the two crus cerebri. So on the ventral aspect of the midbrain. So this is the interpeduncular fossa present on ventral aspect of the midbrain. So posterolateral boundaries. This is posterolateral bound, posteromedial. This is ventrolateral. So this is the crus cerebri. So this is the interpeduncular fossa. This interpeduncular fossa, if it extends in the anterior region, it is called anterior interpeduncular fossa. If it extends into the posterior, you can call it as a posterior interpeduncular fossa. Such classification is not given it, but only classification is present in anterior perforated substance and posterior perforated substance. So you have to repeat it. Now posterior part, large anterior part is divided into two equal halves by vertical plane, the cerebral peduncle. This is a vertical plane. This is a vertical plane dividing the large anterior part into right half and left half. So this is the left half. This is the right half. So this divides the midbrain into small dorsal part tectum and a large ventral part. This one. The large ventral part is again divided into tegmentum, substantia nigra, and crus cerebri. Only changes in midbrain occurs in the dorsal part, small tectum, and also the tegmentum. But the substantia nigra, middle one, and crus cerebri, most anterior part, these two are similar throughout the midbrain. So if you study the section of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus, the structures present in the substantia nigra and crus cerebri are same, but the structures present in the tectum and tegmentum differs at different levels of the study of the midbrain. That is, at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus, where it is given in your standard textbooks. So I already again tell you the ventral surface. This is the dorsal surface, small dorsal surface. Ventral surface is again divided into tegmentum, substantia nigra, crus cerebri. So the structures present in the crus cerebri, the structures present in the substantia nigra are same throughout the length of the midbrain, but only structures present in the tegmentum and tectum vary. I will show you a diagrammatic representation here, a full detailed diagrammatic representation. This is the section of midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. Now this is the crus cerebri, this is the substantia nigra. You keep it in memory. This is the tectum part and tegmentum part. How these structures are present. Now I can show you another section. You see, this is the crus cerebri, this is the substantia nigra. This is the tegmentum part, this is the tectum part. So the variations of structures. You see how this one red nucleus, medial, trigeminal, spinal. So this is lemniscus, reticular formation, pretectal nucleus, superior colliculus. So this is section how the tectum part and tegmentum part differs from section of the superior colliculus and section of the inferior colliculus. Whereas the crus cerebri and substantia nigra. This is the crus cerebri, this is the substantia nigra, same at the level of superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. So you see, you have to recollect, you have to study all these diagrammatic representation present in the standard textbooks. This is reticular formation, this is dorsal tegmental luxation, this is ventral tegmental luxation. So this is the oculomotor nerve, this is the mesencephalic nucleus, this is the mesencephalic nucleus and the trigeminal nerve, this is the pretectal nucleus, this is a large oval mass, superior colliculus. So all these structures are present at the level of section of the superior colliculus. Now I will show you the section of the inferior colliculus. So here medial longitudinal fasciculus, tectospinal tract, dexation of superior cerebellar peduncle cells have occurred. No ventral dexation, no dorsal dexation. How the red nucleus, the rubrospinal tract has become a small one. How the nucleus of inferior colliculus, how these are all. So this lateral lemniscus become mingled with nucleus and inferior colliculus in this one. You see, in that there is no such collusion. So yeah, how these are, how these appears. Reticular formation, dexation of superior rubrospinal tract. So this is the how these are all present. How much this one is mingled here. Is there any mingling of this part with this part? No. At the level of superior colliculus, lemniscus is not mingled with the superior colliculus at this level. So there is a large gap in between these two. This one and this one has got a gap. So you see this diagram, there is no such gap. This lateral lemniscus and nucleus of inferior colliculus are come together, is mingled with one. Whereas at the level of superior colliculus is separate from lateral lemniscus. So you have to observe the diagram in such a manner. You have to compare both diagrams. You have to compare the structures present at the both levels, transverse section. Then only you will get a clear-cut idea. Now I want to tell you. Now this is the crus cerebri. This is again divided into middle 2/5, lateral 1/5, and outer medial 1/6. So medial 1/6, lateral 1/6, and middle 2/5. Totally is this entire mass is 1. Now the medial 1/5 contains one type of fibers. The middle 2/5 contain one type of fibers. The lateral 1/5 contains one type of fibers. Now this middle 2/3 contain corticospinal fibers and corticonuclear fibers. Corticospinal and corticonuclear fibers. That means white fibers coming from the cerebral cortex and going through the midbrain to the pons, then to the medulla oblongata and to the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. So, and also fibers coming from the cerebral cortex, going through the diencephalon, entering into the midbrain and ending in the cranial nerve nuclei, various cranial nerve nuclei. So they are called corticonuclear fibers. So this middle two phase from here to here contains fibers from the cortex. They are corticospinal fibers and also corticonuclear fibers. So this one contains frontopontine and temporopontine. This one contains corticopontine and lateral parieto-occipital fibers. This one contains another type of fiber. So this entire one contains white fibers. Middle two thirds contain corticospinal and corticonuclear fiber. This one contains frontopontine and temporopontine. This one contains parieto-occipital-pontine fibers. So such difference of fibers is there because involvement of midbrain in vascular lesions also associated with what type of fibers is involved. For example, if corticospinal fibers are involved, contralateral hemiplegia occurs. So if corticonuclear fibers are involved, they are ipsilateral, then ipsilateral hemiplegia occurs. So the area which is supplied by the concerned fibers are damaged or paralyzed. So such lesions will occur. So knowing what type of fibers are present in this one, if blood supply to this part is damaged, so the fibers present in this part is involved because of ischemia, and lesions are also produced according to the lesion involved. So it will give you a clear-cut idea. For example, this is a substantia nigra. It is black in color, so it secretes dopamine. This one secretes dopamine. So dopamine, proper secretion of the dopamine is essential for the nervous system. If substantia nigra is damaged, dopamine secretion is reduced and leads to Parkinsonism. So this is the second part. This is the substantia nigra, black in color. It contains specialized cells that secrete dopamine. If this substantia nigra is involved, dopamine secretion is damaged and Parkinsonism occurs. Then you have to administer sufficient quantities of dopamine by oral route tablets or medication. You have to give to rectify the defect. So this is the substantia nigra, black color cells are there. They are specialized polymerized cells. They secrete dopamine. So involvement of damage of the substantia nigra leads to Parkinsonism. Decreased secretion of dopamine leads to Parkinsonism. Tremors. So Adolf Hitler, a dictator of the world, Germany, he suffered with Parkinsonism. So large anterior part is divided into two equal halves by vertical plane, the cerebral peduncle. Each peduncle from dorsal to ventral, tegmentum, substantia nigra, crus cerebrae. Already I have shown you in the diagram. The structures in tectum and tegmentum vary at different levels. Structures in crus cerebrae and substantia nigra are nearly same. Crus cerebrae, it contains important descending tags that connect the cerebral cortex to the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord, cranial nerve nuclei, and pontine nuclei. So that is the middle one. So corticopontine, cortex to pons, corticonuclear, cortex to various cranial nerve nuclei, frontopontine, from the frontal lobe of the cortex to the pontine nuclei present. Pons is present below the midbrain. Temporopontine, fibers coming from the temporal lobe to the pontine. So parieto-pontine, fibers coming from the parietal lobe of the cortex to the pontine. Occipito-pontine fibers. So fibers coming from the occipital lobe of the cerebral cortex to the pons. So pons present below the midbrain. So I will show you again where is fibers. Where is lobes. Now this is the frontal lobe, this is the parietal lobe, this is the occipital lobe, the temporal lobe is removed. So fibers coming from this one and occupying the anterior part of the midbrain, crus cerebrae. So fronto and coming from the midbrain and going into the pons. So they are frontopontine fibers. Fibers from the frontal lobe are going through this one and enter into the midbrain, crus cerebrae, and also going into the pons. Fibers from the parietal lobe coming through the diencephalon and enter into the middle part of the crus cerebrae and going into the pons, they are frontopontine. Fibers coming from the occipital lobe, going through the diencephalon and entering in the crus cerebri, lateral one third, that is occipitopontine. Fibers coming from the temporal lobe are coming, and if they goes to the pontine nuclei, they are called temporopontine fiber. Fibers coming from the cerebral cortex, going through this midbrain and going through the pons and going to the medulla and going to the spinal cord, they are called corticospinal. They are going to the spinal cord by crossing, coming frontal fibers, so parietal fibers, going through the diencephalon, going to the midbrain, going through the pons, going through the medulla, and entering into the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. That is called frontospinal or parietospinal or cortex. If they are coming from the cerebral cortex, that's why they are called as corticospinal fibers. As a collective name, they may be frontopontine, they may be temporopontine, they may be parietopontine, like that. It will give. So I have given you a clear-cut idea of the fibers. Now, dorsal surface of the midbrain possesses 4 rounded elevations. Here, you have to recollect in your memory the previous classes regarding the brainstem. 4 elevations. 4 elevations: quadrigemina, quadrigemina, quadrigemina. 2 superior, 2 inferior. So they are called as superior colliculus and inferior colliculus. They are called as corpora quadrigemina. So the dorsal surface of the midbrain contains 4 rounded elevations, which are present at the superior region is called as superior colliculus, which are present below the superior colliculus are called as inferior colliculus. The 4 together are called as quadrigemina. Surface depression on vertical limb of the dorsal surface largest pineal body. Below it becomes continuous with the frenulum vellae. Here you have to go recollect the diagrams given in the previous chapters, especially the dorsal surface of the brainstem. So you have to, when you are learning the lecture of this class, so I can show you in the PowerPoint only the diagrams related to this chapter because of time factor. Then you have to go into your brain the past diagram, the past subject only. You have to correlate your past lessons with the present lesson. Then only you will get a clear cut. Once again, I am telling you, neuroanatomy is a continuous chapter. It is not a one chapter is start, then means it is not separated. So that is not closed. It is continuous with the previous chapter. So the present chapter, now I am telling you, will be continuous with the future chapter. So as a student, you must be well versed with the follow the lectures and follow the standard textbook. Below it becomes continuous with the frenulum vellae. Thick ridge. Extending from each side of each constitute their brachium. So each colliculus, there are 2 superior colliculus, there are 2 inferior colliculus. So from the lateral side of the superior colliculus, a thick ridge of white matter extends and goes to the geniculate bodies. Superior brachium connects the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body. Inferior brachium connects the inferior colliculus to the medial geniculate body. Brachium is nothing but a white matter, a band of fibers connecting the superior colliculus to the lateral geniculate body, and the inferior brachium connects the inferior colliculus to the medial geniculate body. So here again, I will again tell you, the colliculus is nothing but collection of neurons. Superior colliculus is a collection of neurons. Inferior colliculus is a collection of neurons. Superior colliculus is connected to the lateral geniculate body. They are associated with visual reflexes. Inferior colliculus is connected to the medial geniculate body. They are associated with auditory reflexes. So they are associated with superior colliculus is associated with visual, and inferior colliculus is associated with auditory. Medial geniculate body attached to medial geniculate body, that is auditory. Now, internal structure. It is studied by examining transverse structure. I already told you. Coronal section divides the midbrain into small posterior part and large anterior part. So, small posterior part is called tectum, and large anterior part is again divided into tegmentum, substantia nigra, and crus cerebri. Already I shown you the old diagram. Once again, I will tell you the classification, how we have it. So, this is the tectum, this is the tegmentum, substantia nigra, and this is the crus cerebri. That is the division. Crus cerebri contains important descending tracts that connect the cerebral cortex to the anterior horn cells of spinal cord, cranial nerve, nuclei, and pontic nuclei. Already told you, substantia nigra is a pigmented band of gray matter. It is a large motor nucleus. It is a large motor nucleus, extends throughout the length of the midbrain. So substantia nigra has got similar structure throughout the midbrain. It is made up of deeply pigmented nerve cells, contain melanin, cell size dopamine. Clinical correlation. Degeneration of substantia nigra causes Parkinson's disease. Already I told you. Transverse section of midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. Now this is the inferior colliculus. This is the nucleus of inferior colliculus. It is nothing but a collection of neurons. This is a lemniscus. This is a lateral lemniscus. This is a spinal lemniscus. This is a trigeminal lemniscus. This is a medial lemniscus. Now this is the central gray matter. This is the central canal of the midbrain, Sylvian duct. Now this is the mesencephalic nucleus of the. This is the mesencephalic one, dark one. This is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. This is the trochlear nerve nucleus. How the trochlear nerve is emerging from the anterior aspect of the trochlear nerve is emerging from the trochlear nucleus. Trochlear nucleus anterolaterally, and it is winding round the lateral side of the central gray matter and goes to the back side, dorsal aspect. Oculomotor nerve is ventral aspect, trochlear nerve is dorsal aspect. So it is going like this one. Whereas medial longitudinal fasciculus is present on either side of the paramedian plane. So this is the medial longitudinal spiral. This is the tectospinal tract. This is tectospinal tract. So this is decussation of superior cerebellar peduncle because midbrain is attached to the cerebellum by means of superior cerebellar peduncle. This is a reticular formation. How the reticular formation is large here and here, whereas in medulla it is small in structure. So the reticular formation is present on either side of the central gray matter. On either side of the central gray matter. So this is the reticular formation, a paramedian plane on either side of the. So this is ventrolateral position, reticular formation between the. So this is the medial lemniscus. This is the trigeminal lemniscus. Between the trigeminal lemniscus and the central gray matter, reticular formation is present. Now this is rubrospinal tract or rubrospinal tract. So this midbrain contains red nucleus. So this is the rubrospinal tract or a red nucleus. So this is the pattern. How this is corticonuclear fibers, corticospinal fibers, they are terminal tract, temporopontine and paretopontine, occipitopontine, lateral 1/6, and frontopontine fibers. How this is medial 1/6. Medial 1/6, 2/3, and lateral 1/6. How the different types of fibers are present at the nucleus of inferior colliculus. So this nucleus of inferior colliculus is nothing but a collection of neurons connecting the medial geniculate body concerned with auditory function. So this is the structural pattern of transverse section of midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. Now gray matter. Gray matter around the central duct contains two nuclei. Nuclei of trochlear nerve and mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. So nuclei of the trochlear nerve, mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. This is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. This is oculomotor nucleus. So this is the pretectal nucleus. So you see, this is a nucleus. This is a mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. This is oculomotor nucleus. So fourth nerve and fifth nerve nucleus are present here. So this is a pretectal nucleus. Now central Edinger-Westphal nucleus forms rostral 2/3 of the main oculomotor nucleus. Here I will tell you Edinger-Westphal nucleus is a parasympathetic part of the oculomotor nerve. Is a parasympathetic part of the oculomotor nerve. So Edinger-Westphal nucleus forms rostral 2/3 of the main oculomotor nucleus. So this is the oculomotor nerve coming from the going to the ventral aspect, touching the red nucleus. This is the red nucleus. This is touching the red nucleus. So this is the oculomotor nucleus. So rostral 2/3 of the oculomotor nucleus is called as Edinger-Westphal nucleus. So wherever this is the oculomotor nucleus, this entire one is oculomotor nucleus. So the rostral 2/3 from here to here is called rostral 2/3. So this is called Edinger-Westphal nucleus in the oculomotor nerve. So this part is the parasympathetic part of the oculomotor nucleus. This is concerned with oculomotor nerve is concerned with eyeball. Extraocular muscles and eyeball are supplied by the oculomotor nerve. So accommodation, squint, etc. are associated with involvement of oculomotor nerve. So this is the rostral 2/3 of the oculomotor nucleus. That is Edinger-Westphal nucleus. Superior colliculus formed of 7 concentric alternating lamina of white and gray matter. If you see the superior colliculus, it forms a, I will show you the diagram of superior colliculus. Now this is the superior colliculus. This is the structure of superior. Dorsal tegmental decussation of moiner, ventral tegmental decussation of floornet, and red nucleus, medial trigeminal spinal. So these lemnisci are arranged in a lateral direction. This is the central gray matter and the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. They are arranged ventrolaterally. This is the ventral part. They are arranged laterally. So these nuclei are arranged ventrolateral to this one in a band pattern from below upwards. So you have to write the description. So the spinal, the lemnisci are arranged ventrolaterally to the central gray matter from below upwards in a lateral direction toward rostrally. You have to write like that, theory. Superior colliculus receives afferent and afferent fibers. Clinical correlation. Unilateral lesion of the superior colliculus. Pretectal nucleus is an important part of pathway for pupillary light reflex, consensual light reflex. Its lesion causes Edgell-Robertson pupil. So, its lesion causes Edgell-Robertson pupil. Pretectal nucleus is an important part of pathway for pupillary light reflex, consensual light reflex. So, its lesion causes Edgell-Robertson pupil. So, pupillary light reflex means if you throw a light through a torchlight, a focus of light into your eye, so the pupil will constrict. That is pupillary light reflex. If you throw light in one eye, so there is constriction of pupil in the other eye also. That is called consensual light reflex. So direct light into one eye, that is pupillary reflex. If you throw light in one eye, if you see the constriction of pupil in another eye, that is consensual light reflex. So its lesion causes Edgell-Robertson pupil. So your eye is not able to, pupil is not able to accommodate according to the light thrown into the eyeball. That is Edgell-Robertson pupil. Corrections are there? Unilateral lesion of the superior colliculus. Pretectal nucleus. So already I told you. Red nucleus is a oval shaped mass of gray matter, appears ovoid in cross section. I will show you red nucleus. This is the red nucleus, oval shaped mass, present in the midbrain. At the level of superior colliculus, it is large. Afferent cerebello-rubral fibers. Red nucleus is otherwise called as. So, whatever the connections associated with the red nucleus, we will pronounce them as rubra. From cerebellar to red nucleus, cerebello-rubral. From cortex to red nucleus, cortico-rubral. From pallium to red nucleus, it is called pallido-rubral fiber. Red nucleus receives fibers from subthalamic nucleus, hypothalamus, and substantia nigra and tectum. Corrections on the red nucleus. Efferents. So, going to the rubrospinal, from red nucleus to spinal cord. From red nucleus to bulbar, medulla, it is called rubrobulbar. From red nucleus to reticular formation, rubroreticular tract. Fibers from red nucleus before forming these tracts dexate, forming ventrocranial dexation of the forehead. Red nucleus is considered as an integrating and relay center on following pathways: cortico-rubrospinal fiber, cortico-rubronuclear fiber, cerebello-rubrospinal fiber. Now, white matter, dorsal tegmentum, mental tegmental dexation, medial longitudinal fasciculus. So, tegmentum at this level contain medial, trigeminal, spinal lemniscus, no lateral lemnisci at the level of superior. So, you read this one, I will show you in the diagram. Where is lateral lemniscus? Lateral lemniscus is not present in this one. Spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, medial lemniscus is present at the level of superior colliculus. So, no lateral lemniscus at the level of superior colliculus section. I will show you the diagram here. So, here lateral lemniscus is present intermingled with inferior colliculus. Whereas at the superior colliculus, lateral lemniscus is, this one is not there. Only this one is there. So, you have to read the diagram, you have to read the theory. Now, lemnisci are arranged in curved form in both medial longitudinal fasciculus, pectospinal tract, rubrospinal tract. So, I will show you the diagram. Medial longitudinal fasciculus, pectospinal tract, rubrospinal tract. So, this is the dexation of superior cerebellar artery. Already they are present in theory, PowerPoint. So, I will be showing you medial longitudinal fasciculus, pectospinal tract. And so, this medial longitudinal fasciculus is a white band of fibers, myelinated fibers, extend throughout the length of the midbrain, has got connection with various granular nuclei. So, this is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. In section, appears like a rounded one, whereas the medial longitudinal fasciculus, I will show you in this diagram. This is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. This is concerned with abducent nucleus, abducent nerve, vestibular nucleus, spinal nucleus of accessory nerve, and this is the anterior horn cells of the spinal cord. This is the nucleus of lateral lemniscus, abducent nucleus, ascending post of medial longitudinal, how they ascend, nuclear nucleus, like that it is. So, this is another nucleus, scabicia. So, like that. So, like that it has been. Medial longitudinal fasciculus is a rounded bundle in transverse section, whereas it extends throughout the length of the midbrain like this. So, it has got so many connections. Simplified diagram to show the components of medial longitudinal fasciculus and distribution of its fibers to the cranial nerve. So, the medial longitudinal fasciculus, MLF, is a compact myelinated fibers, white fibers, that is connected to the various nerves. So, this is the diagram present in the standard textbook. If you go in examination, medial longitudinal fasciculus, if it is given, you have to draw this diagram and you have to write the theory. The fibers of medial longitudinal fasciculus interconnect the nuclei, third, sixth, fourth, sixth, eighth, vestibular and spinal nucleus of the accessory nerve. So, whatever I shown in the diagram, I have shown in this theory as written form. Chief function of medial longitudinal fasciculus is to coordinate the movements of head and neck in response to stimulation of the vestibulocochlear nerve. The chief function of the medial longitudinal fasciculus is to coordinate the movements of head and neck in response to stimulation of vestibulocochlear nerve. Eighth nerve is the vestibulocochlear nerve. So, cochlear nerve is for hearing, cochlear apparatus, vestibular nerve is for balancing. Two are vestibulocochlear nerve, eighth nerve. Now, structural and functional components of the midbrain, gray matter, superior colliculus, inferior colliculus. They are nothing but a collection of neurons. Superior colliculus, reflex centers for visual reflexes. Inferior colliculus, lower auditory center, probably concerned with reflexes involving auditory stimuli. Red nuclei, it is also nothing but a collection of neurons. involuntary control of muscle tone and posture. Substantia nigra regulate the activity of basal nuclei associated with Parkinson's disease. Nuclei of oculomotor and trochlear nerves give motor fibers to these nerves which are concerned with the activities of both intensive and extensive muscles of the eyeball. White matter, cerebral particles containing a number of ascending and descending tracts, provides passage to the fibers of motor and sensory tract. This is a standard table given in standard textbooks. So the gray matter and white matter, midbrain is divided into gray matter and white matter. Central nervous system is divided only into gray matter and white matter. Gray matter is nothing but neuron, white matter is nothing but fibers. They are ascending and descending fibers. So a collection of neurons in the gray matter, the collection of neurons is called nuclei. If they are present in the central nervous system, they are called nuclei. So collection of neurons in the gray matter, they can be called as a nuclei. Collection of neurons in the white matter, they can be called as nuclei within the white matter of the central nervous system. So here I have given you a clear-cut idea, not confusing the collection of nuclei, collection of neurons called nuclei. They can be present in the gray matter, they can be present in the white matter also. Blood supply, basilar artery, branch of the posterior cerebellar and superior cerebellar artery, branch of posterior communicating and anterior choroidal arteries. So blood supply of the midbrain, basilar artery and its branches, posterior cerebral and superior cerebellar arteries, branch of posterior communicating and anterior choroidal arteries. So you have to read this one, you have to read this one. Venous drainage, veins of midbrain drain into the great cerebral and basal vein. I will show you the blood supply. Superior cerebellar artery, posterior cerebellar artery and posterior communicating artery. So these supply, this one gives branches to the midbrain. So content branches from the basilar artery supply the parts. So these supply the midbrain. So this is only the written there in the theory. Clinical correlation, Weber syndrome. Loss of blood supply of the posterior cerebral artery. This causes ipsilateral squint, contralateral hemiplegia. Ipsilateral means same side. If the lesion on the same side, same eye squint occurs. Mellakannu antam telugulo squint ante. Contralateral hemiplegia. Opposite part of the body is paralyzed. Contralateral paralysis of the lower part of the face and tongue. So drooping of the upper eyelid called ptosis. Pupil is dilated and fixed to light accommodation. So pupil never respond to light. So Weber syndrome. I will show you the diagram where the Weber syndrome occurs. No, Weber area involved in Weber syndrome. This area is involved. So here the oculomotor nerve is coming, it is involved. So all these fibers present in this area is involved. So this is some corticospinal fibers are involved, corticopontine fibers are involved. Here the frontopontine fibers are involved. So here the oculomotor nerve of this one is also involved. So the oculomotor involvement in this side causes ipsilateral, same side. Fibers of the corticospinal, they cross to the opposite side. So contralateral side occurs, hemiplegia occurs. So oculomotor nerve lesion occurs. So squint and fixation of pupil, dilatation of pupil and not responding to the light occurs on the same side, ipsilateral side. Whereas corticospinal fibers in the motor area, medulla, great motor and system crosses to the opposite side. So opposite side of the body is affected. So if you go through the previous chapters also, you will get. So Perrinot syndrome. So this is the area involved in Bendix syndrome. If this area is involved, Bendix syndrome will occur. So this is a red nucleus is involved. This is the lemniscus. So what is this lemniscus? Medial lemniscus. This is medial lemniscus is involved. Now this is spinal lemniscus is involved. Spinal lemniscus, medial lemniscus, and red nucleus on one side is involved in Bendix syndrome. So the area supplied by these one. So medial lemniscus, red nucleus, it gives fibers to the spinal cord, anterior dorsal spinal cord. So fibers are also involved. So oculomotor nerve of the same side is involved. So ipsilateral lesions in the eyeball, loss of pupillary reflex on the same side also occurs. So if this nerve, oculomotor nerve is involved, dilatation of pupil and fixation of pupil occurs. So eye nerve, the pupil does not constrict if you throw light on the same side occurs. If this area is involved, on the same side. So this also the same side, whereas here the pyramidal fibers next side to opposite side. So contralateral hemiplegia occurs. Here, there is no involvement of fibers, corticospinal fiber, frontopontine fiber, parieto-occipital fibers, does not involve in Bendix syndrome. So, this only involves. Perinard syndrome results from a lesion of superior colliculus. Edgell-Robertson pupil is a clinical condition in which light reflex is lost, but accommodation reflex remains intact. Light reflex is lost. You throw light in it, light reflex does not occur, but accommodation reflex is intact. It occurs because of lesion in the vicinity of pretectal nucleus. So I have made it a nutshell into the PowerPoint presentation from a standard textbook. So my dear students, if you go well through the PowerPoint presentation and also through the diagrams given by me, so it will be communicated to you after the lecture is over by Shukma madam. It will be more useful for you to go once through the PowerPoint after my lecture. You read the standard textbook. So nothing, you have to follow the lecture. You have to read the text. You have to read the PowerPoint. Then only you will get a clear-cut idea. So after hearing my lecture, you should not throw the book or PowerPoint, and you have to read it. Thank you very much for your kind consideration for hearing this chapter. So this is nothing but a continuation to the previous chapter parts. This is nothing but continuation to the next chapter, that is diencephalon. So once again, I will tell you the midbrain. Now I already told you something. I want to finish your chapter by telling something what I told you. The midbrain is the first part of the brainstem. Next part is pons. Next part is medulla oblongata. So 12 cranial nerves, first optic, olfactory attached to the forebrain. Midbrain, oculomotor and trochlear nerve. Among the 12 cranial nerves, oculomotor nerve is only the trochlear nerve is the only nerve that is coming from the dorsal aspect. There are gray matter and white matter present in the midbrain, as like the central nervous system, other central nervous system also. It is a similar picture. Gray matter is principally made up of neurons. White matter is principally made of fibers. They are axons and dendrites coming from the neurons. Now the midbrain is again divided into small dorsal part and a large ventral part. The small dorsal part is called tectum. A large ventral part is again divided into dorsal part tegmentum and substantia nigra, a compact crumbled mass, and ventral part crus cerebri. Now the dorsal part tectum and a most posterior part of the ventral part, that is tegmentum, have got variations. Structure is different at level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus, whereas the substantia nigra and the crus cerebri, the structural pattern of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus is same, but only the tectum, dorsal part, and a most posterior part of the ventral part, that is tegmentum, has got differences at the level of superior colliculus, at the level of inferior colliculus. So, if you draw a coronal section line, so you can divide the ventral part into right half and left half. Right half and left. So, crus cerebri is present on the right half, crus cerebri on the present on the left part. In between the two crus cerebri, there is a perforated substance, that is called anterior perforated substance. So, that is called anterior perforated substance. Here, you have to go through the diagram given in the brainstem, that is dorsal aspect and ventral aspect. That is given in the dorsal aspect and ventral aspect. Now, I will show you the diagram. This is the dorsal aspect, this is the ventral aspect. You draw a line like this one, it is divided into right half, again the left half. This is the substantia nigra, this is the crus cerebri. This is nothing but white matter. This substantia nigra is a gray matter. This tegmentum also contains various gray matter and white matter. But this is the principal central gray matter. This is the principal central gray matter. The canal present in this one is called the Sylvian tunnel. This is called that is called sylviacal. That is continuous above with the diencephalon, that is continuous below with the pons and also the medulla oblongata, and this is continuous below with the pons, fourth ventricle, and also with the medulla oblongata, central canal of the medulla oblongata, central canal of the spinal cord. Segment of substantia nigra and cus cerebri. Structures in cus cerebri and substantia nigra are same. So it contains fibers. So degeneration of substantia nigra causes Parkinson's disease. It is a motor nucleus. Substantia nigra is a motor nucleus. Extend throughout the midbrain. Substantia nigra is a motor nucleus. Its cell size is dopamine. Its cell size is dopamine. So Parkinson's disease is associated with dopamine. So in Parkinson's disease, you have to supplement the drug by means of medication. Dopamine you have to supplement. Now this is inferior colliculus. Section on the midbrain at the level of inferior colliculus. Now you see the lateral lemniscus is there, spinal lemniscus is there, trigeminal lemniscus is there, medial lemniscus is there. So this is the medial longitudinal fasciculus. This is stryctospinal tract. This is dextrational superior cerebellar particle. This is red nucleus, rubrospinal tract. Now this is the trochlear nerve nucleus. This is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve. How this nucleus and this nucleus is present at the nucleus of the inferior colliculus. So you see what is the changes occurred here with these two nuclei. So this has become more elongated. Rostral part, Edinger-Westphal nucleus of the oculomotor nerve, and this is the principal oculomotor nucleus. This is the mesencephalic nucleus of the trigeminal nerve, almost lateral aspect of the central gray matter of the midbrain at the level of superior colliculus. How the superior colliculus is large, oval in structure. This is the pretectal nucleus. This is the spinal nucleus, spinal lemniscus, trigeminal lemniscus, medial. So here lateral lemniscus is present at the level of the section of inferior colliculus. That disappears. That merges with the nucleus of the inferior colliculus. Now ventral tegmentation of forehead, dorsal tegmentation of dextration of minor. So red nucleus is there. Fibers coming from the red nucleus forms dorsal tegmental dextration of minor. So ventral tegmental dextration, that is called forehead. This is the reticular formation, which is the dextration coming from the red nucleus. Forehead, minor and forehead. Ventral tegmental dextration is called forehead. Dorsal tegmental dextration is called minor. This is present at the level of superior colliculus. That is not present at the level of inferior colliculus. Okay. Thank you very much for your patient learning and hearing. And you have to, once again, I will tell you, you have to go through the PowerPoint presentation. You have again here my lecture once again, going through the website and see the standard textbook and study it and be prepared for the next class also. Thank you very much, my dear student, for your kind cooperation. Okay. Wish you best of luck.